Welcome everybody to conference day 2 of Virtual FoxFest 2020, our October edition.
Oops. Yep, there we go.
As you can see on the screen, we had lots of fun last Thursday. Today is Ask Us Anything Day. If you would like to post questions in the stage chat, we will get to those at the very end of this opening session.
I goofed on our keynote session slides last week. I left off one of our most important and long-term sponsors, Foxpert. So sorry about that, Christoph. That's why you got your own slide this time. But thank you to all of our major sponsors. They help to fund the conference and allow us to keep the conference costs low. So thank you to all of our sponsors, including a new one that signed up this week, CrimeStar. So just a reminder to everybody that there is a trade show. In the panel over at the left, the very bottom button is Expo. So that has both live and video booths. The video booths allow you to watch a video about each vendor's product or services, but the live booth acts more like the session rooms. You can actually go and chat with the folks that are there. So in between each of the breaks, I urge you to go and spend some time, chat with the different exhibitors there and see how they can help you out with your development efforts. We have a couple of promotions going on. DBI is offering a 50% discount on all of their products, and XSharp is also offering a 50% discount on their subscription. You would have received the details about that in an email last week, so just go ahead and check those.
So this is a virtual conference. That means there may be technical glitches. If you have a problem, suddenly you can't see or you can't hear what's going on stage or in a session room, step 1 is refresh your browser. If that doesn't work, try restarting your computer and coming back in. And if that still doesn't solve things, maybe say something in the chat and people may have some suggestions for you. But just know that that's how it goes sometimes, is things get glitchy.
All right, well, there's lots of opportunity to network and communicate with each other. We have our session rooms, which everyone seems to congregate into one session room, typically Arizona. But we do have several session rooms that you can break out into. We only allow, I think, 10 video, audio people at a time in any one session room, and others can lurk in the background, but it's a lot more fun when you can participate through your video. So go ahead and feel that you can use all the other ones, although I know it's fun to hang out with all the people in one room sometimes as well. You can send direct messages to a specific attendee by going to the people pages and finding the person and doing that. You can also use the and then it'll, after you type in 2 letters, it'll bring up the different people's names in the chat, and you can tag someone so that they see it more easily when you respond to somebody when they have a question or something you want to respond to. There's lots of feedback opportunities as well. There's the speakers after their sessions, you can talk to them in the session rooms. There's also a thing that you need to understand is there's a 20-second delay between the time the speaker's presenting their material and when you see it on the stage. So that's why we have our producers in the background collecting your questions and then presenting them to the speaker when they take a break for questions. So just note that there is that delay, and that's why you want to get your questions in as early as you can so that the moderators will be able to bring those at the time that they break in. If you're tweeting about it or using Facebook, you can, or any of the social media platforms, you can use the hashtag #VirtualFoxFest to make everyone who's not here jealous that they're not here.
Reminder, please, please, please fill out the evaluations after the sessions. We learn from them. Our speakers learn from them. They just make the next conference better. And one of the nice things in this community is that we all help each other. We were talking about that in one of the session rooms before we started this morning, that people create things and then share them. When you share feedback, you help the whole community. You received the credentials in, I think it was the one labeled number 3. Is that right, Rick?
Yes.
So you received an email last week, or unless you registered for the conference since then, and you have the credentials. On the conference website, there's a link to the eval website, so you don't have to remember what it is. And there's a video on the evaluation page just to show you how it all works.
We do have a couple of questions, I think.
Yep.
Shannon asks, are any of you working on any books or released one recently? I think books are a thing of the past. Not to say that somebody might not do one, but I think like magazines, I think books are kind of a bygone era. So,
yeah.
Anybody else have an opinion?
Yeah, I said 7 is enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But every time I said no, somebody has tried to convince me to do one. So maybe I shouldn't have said no.
Yeah, I think it's more a question of, is there a book to be written that, that's something big enough for a whole book.
Dave asked, if the conference is live next year, will you still be streaming it? We haven't worked out those details yet, but I think we're going to try and do that. Right?
Yeah, our Hopin platform allows us to do that. It gives us the ability to do that. The question really is the business model behind it. We were talking a little bit about this in the Bisbee room beforehand, but it basically is we have to figure out a way to be able to bring speakers in, fly them in who would do some of the in-conference stuff. And be able to afford to pay for a hotel and flights and food and conference fees and all that. And then just figure out if some people are virtual and some people are in person, what the balance is between the two, and will we have enough revenue to afford the whole thing as in-person and hybrid.
Right. And I can add, I wrote on our blog many years ago a piece about the economics of running a conference, and it's still quite relevant, and you might want to dig back in our blog. Actually, I've written a couple of things about it in the blog. So on the Southwest Fox blog, you can find about how food is the major expense of a conference, but also mitigates the cost of space. And you can read about how hotel rooms are currency in the conference world.
Tom asks, any problem with VFP and Windows 11? I've been using Windows 11 since basically the day it was released to the public, and I use both VFP 9, SP2, and VFP Advanced every day, and no issues whatsoever. And I wouldn't expect any either. And I wouldn't expect, there's a new version of Windows that was just released last week to the public. I haven't installed it yet because my machine is on lockdown during conference times, but I'm not expecting any issues there or for any upcoming versions of Windows, as long as they stay 64-bit. If we move to 128-bit version of Windows, then we're hooped. But until that day, I can't anticipate any issues at all. Rick and Tamar, do you agree?
I am. I have been doing some coding and testing on Windows 11 since the same day Doug did. Back last October, and I haven't seen any issues at all. In fact, the version number of Windows 11 is actually version 10.0.22,000 or something as the original release number. So they didn't even upgrade the version number in Windows. So it is like basically a new UI on top of Windows 10. From my perspective, it's all been the same.
Paul asks, if not books, what are the best resources for people new to VFP?
Well, first of all those books, all the Henson workbooks at least, are still available electronically, even if you can't get a print version. So the books are still there. They're just not new. And a lot of us have put a lot of our writings over the years onto our websites. Most of what I've written is on my website. Doug has a huge collection on his. Rick Borup, I know, has a lot of papers on his website. I'm not sure who else, but a lot of that is out there. So that's a help. There are some videos out there as well. I don't know much about them because I'm not a person who learns well from video, but maybe some others can speak to that.
Tom says, to follow up on his question, Windows 11 should only allow with certificate. I think he's referring to Eric Seljay's session last week, where he talked about a new requirement in the new version of Windows, which was just released last week, which will require certificates for digital certificate signing for every EXE. I did a little bit of research into that, and it turns out that that's only available for certain people. When you fire up the new version of Windows, you have to actually specifically go into the settings to tell it you want to turn that on, and it won't necessarily turn it on for you. It only allows you to turn it on for certain types of customers. There was no indication of what the certain types of customers means. I'm thinking maybe it's people are using the enterprise version of Windows, but I'm not really sure because, like I said, there was no details. But basically, it's not turned on by default, and it's difficult to turn on that feature. That being said, I still think it's a good idea to digitally sign your executables anyway, because it does provide, you don't get that yellow or red box that comes up when you try to run an EXE that isn't digitally signed. Number one. And number two, currently Windows 11 doesn't have that feature turned on. That's not to say that a future version of Windows doesn't have it turned on by default. So I think you need to plan for digitally signing your executables. If you're not already doing it, you need to think that maybe one day you probably will have to do it.
Okay, there's been a couple of people who have posted about not being able to get the credentials for the eval site. Bodwin, I did resend yours already. If you guys need yours resent, please send an email to info@geekgatherings.com and I will resend those.
All right, last chance for any questions. Of course, you have to wait 20 seconds before we find out. But
Right. We could juggle.
Well, it's pretty much our time up. Our time's pretty
That's
much up
true.
anyway. We have to get ready for Dave's session. So
Okay.
thanks, everybody.
All right.
We'll see you later.
We'll see you all day.
Have a great day.